Hey guys, it's Julian from Beneath the Bunk Studios and BeneathTheBunk.com. I hope you're doing wonderfully today. We are Beneath the Bunk, discussing 3 mistakes that could be making your mixes sound amateur. Let's get right into it. So here we are in Pro Tools. As you can see, we're going to be using a mix that I've featured on this channel before. It is the newest song from my solo project as of the recording of this video anyway. It is called Trouble in Paradise from my solo project Poems of Sorts. Link in the description. Check it out if you'd like. But anyway, let's start talking about the 3 mistakes that I referenced at the beginning of this video. So this first thing was one of the biggest game changers for me. When I figured it out, it really helped me take my mixes to the next level, and that is balance. Now, I'm not referring to balance between different elements of your mix, like the relative balance of your bass to your drums. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is balance between different parts of your song. So for example, let's say you have an intro that moves into a chorus like I do in this song. You want your intro to sound not as big as the chorus that comes after it, because once that intro ends, you want your song to really pop. You want the listener to be like enveloped in everything that they're hearing, and you want them to be like, wow, this is so cool, it really hit me right away, and blah 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 blah. So what we're going to talk about is balance. So I'm going to give you an example of what I'm doing in this song to make sure that the intro does not sound as big as the chorus, and other little elements throughout the song don't sound as big as the part that come after it when that's necessary. Let's start with the intro. Here's what it sounds like. So that's an example of what is ideal, in my head at least, for what it sounds like when you're going from an intro to where the song is meant to kick in. Now let's talk about what it sounds like when that is not the case. So I'm automating up the level of this piano in the intro so that it can give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but this is the gist. So I don't really even need to explain why that sounds weird. I'm sure you could tell that it does. And if you're making this mistake, I hope that it helped you. Let's move on to the next one. Another mixing mistake that I've found to be really common when I'm listening to mixes that are done by engineers that are still getting started is that they have way too much reverb in their mix in general. So what I'm going to do to highlight that mistake right now is talk about the reverb that I have going on in this mix. It's just one long reverb. I'm using Valhalla Vintage Verb to make it happen, and right now I'll solo the vocal for you so that you could hear it with that reverb. Just for the sake of letting you hear what the reverb sounds like, I'm going to turn it way louder than it is right now because it's kind of hard to distinguish it from the other effects.
Text you when I'm drunk and I can't hold my tongue. How come I haven't seen you whisper for too long? Heard you're having trouble there in paradise. I'm just trying to...
All right, now I'm going to reset it back to where it was in the original mix, and I'm going to play the original mix, and you're going to pay attention to how that reverb is sitting in the mix and how subtle it is. It's really not even that noticeable.
Tell me why I still care about you and the ring you wear. Do you really, really think that's fair? Yeah, it's not your fault I'm aware.
So as you could hear, like I said, it's pretty subtle. You can't really hear the vocal reverb unless the vocal's in solo. But if you take it away, it does remove some of the nice space that it has, I think. And the reason behind that is because if you pay attention to this piano here, that's kind of the main instrument throughout the whole song, I would say. It sounds like this. That piano already sounds pretty distant. And if you also listen to this pad that I have that's kind of swelling in and out during the pre-chorus, it doesn't sound reverby per se, but it has that big stereo vibe to it. And that working together with this piano is just already a big reverby, like far away space. So if I were to take this vocal, the vocal reverb, and just totally turn it up like way farther than I would ever actually turn it up, you lose so much clarity in the mix and everything just sounds like a mess. So I'm going to play this pre-chorus and have this vocal reverb turned up way too loud so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. Pay attention to the pad that I mentioned, that's swelling, the womp, womp. Pay attention to that when I turn up the vocal reverb. So this is the vocal reverb at a normal level.
Tell me what I still care about you and the ring you wear.
Now let's turn it up.
Tell me what I still care about you and the ring you wear. Do you really think that's fair? Yeah,
The pad just doesn't have as much movement to it anymore because the entire mix is just this giant cavernous reverb and all the parts are just fighting for space and it's a mess. Summary is, be careful with your reverbs. Let's move on to the third and final mistake you could be making. That mistake is mix bus compression, either working too aggressively or set improperly. So what exactly do I mean by a mix bus compressor that is improperly set? Well, 9 times out of 10, when I hear a mix that sounds like a mix bus compressor is working really hard, it usually sounds like the attack knob is on its fastest setting and the release knob is on its fastest setting. The way that I define good mix bus compression settings is when you have your compressor set so that you can't really tell that it's working. Maybe you could tell as the engineer because you know what you're listening for, but the listener should have no idea that there's any weird stuff going on behind the scenes. They should have no idea that you have a mix bus compressor on. And if that's set that aggressively, you know, you might have your person who's listening to your song be like, yeah, man, it sounds like something's off here. Like they might not know what it is, but like it's really obvious when, for example, your piano is playing in the intro and because your mix bus is set so dramatically, it just sounds like when the song kicks in, the entire thing ducks out. So instead of having these super fast attack and release times, try backing off that a little bit. Try maybe doing, you know, a fast release in some cases works with a slow attack. Try also doing an auto release. Play around with the context of your song. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm definitely not trying to tell you that you need to always have these mix bus compressor settings. But if you're having weird pumping issues, definitely check that out first because that's most likely where they're originating from. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did or if you didn't, let me know down below. If you have any questions, also don't be shy. Let me know down below. I will talk to you next time. Adios.